ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you aboard this Stagecoach 599 service to Ambleside, Windermere and Bowness. We will shortly be leaving behind the village of Grasmere. This large but picturesque village is home to St Oswald's Church, where William Wordsworth and his family are buried. By the church sits Gate Cottage, home since the 1850s to Sarah Nelson's Grasmere gingerbread, still produced to the original recipe today.
We would like to remind passengers on the upper deck to please remain seated whilst the vehicle is in motion, and to keep hands, arms, legs and heads within the sides and rear walls of the vehicle at all times. Thank you.
The next stop is Dove Cottage. Please ring the bell if you wish to alight here.
Dove Cottage, which is located behind the buildings next to its car park, was originally built in the 17th century as a public house and was first recorded as the Dove and Olive in 1617. It remained a public house until it closed in 1793. It was then converted to living accommodation, and in December 1799 William Wordsworth moved in with his new wife Mary and his sister Dorothy. Thomas de Quincey, the journalist and writer, was also a permanent guest. In 1808 the family outgrew Dove Cottage and moved to Allen Bank in the village of Grasmere. Dove Cottage was acquired by the Wordsworth Trust in 1890, opening to the public in 1891. In recent years, a large, modern but old building was added to house the collection of the Wordsworth Trust.
People live all probably with their families and friends. From their situation where she was possibly widowed or unmarried or with a family.
At 1 mile long, half a mile wide, and 75 feet deep, Grasmere is slightly longer than Ryder Water. The island in the centre is reputed to have been a favourite place of the poet William Wordsworth, who lived in nearby residences Dove Cottage and Allen Bank. a lake at just 3/4 of a mile long and 1/4 of a mile wide. It is also shallow with a maximum depth of 50 feet. Behind the lake is Livery Terrace, a popular and easy walking area that also contains Rydal Cave, a large man-made cabin in the hillside, the remnants of a slave quarry.
The next stop is Rydal. Please ring the bell if you wish to alight here.
We are now entering Rydal, most famous for Rydal Mount, the poet William Wordsworth's residence until his death in 1850. Sections of the house date back to 1574. It was enlarged in 1750 and occasionally rebuilt. It is now a Grade 1 listed building. Rydal Mount is not the obvious large building you can see to the trees. That is Rydal Hall, built in the 16th century. Its present look dates from the early 19th century. This is the so-called New Hall, built by the first Sir Michael de Fleming in the 16th century, enlarged in the 17th century, and altered and refaced in the 18th century, with the main front dating from the early 19th century. The original Rydal Hall was closer to the current road, but was in ruins by the end of the 16th century. The village of Rydal was built on the old trade route between Ambleside and Kendal, originally a pack-horse trail, but developed into a turnpike road in the 18th century. There was also a medieval deer park dated from the 13th century on the other side of the river. This shape was developed into the village, but no building or settlement was permitted in the park.
We would like to remind passengers on the upper deck to please remain seated whilst the vehicle is in motion. And to keep hands, arms, legs and heads within the sides of the rear walls of the vehicle at all times. Thank you.
Coming up is Bridge House, possibly the most photographed building in the Lake District. Originally built as an apple store for Ambleside Hall, remnants of which now parts of buildings in the area around the Golden Rule Public House and Smithy Brow, it was built over stock theft to escape land tax. It is believed that at one time, this tiny two-room building housed a family with 6 children. We are now travelling through Ambleside. There has been a settlement here for over 2,000 years, dating back to the Romans at Calada. After the Roman Empire declined, the area came under the control of Furness Abbey near Barrow-in-Furness, which introduced small-scale managed industrialisation with farming and iron ore smelting. Over time, slate quarrying became a major export industry, whilst farming expanded, and the dissolution of the monasteries led to the land being divided up into numerous small holdings by 1550. The Industrial Revolution brought new technology to the area. The road system was transformed from muddy, rutted cart tracks to reliable roads, and water, bark and bobbin mills were built alongside watercourses. Stockgill still had the remnants of water wheel housings near its banks. By the late 19th century, the town had expanded as the tourist industry caught up and overtook the mills as a source of income, as transport connections had vastly improved with the arrival of the railway in Windermere, and big northern industrial towns sourced their materials from closer to home.
Ambleside-Helsett Road. Please ring the bell if you wish to alight here.
Passengers wishing to catch the 505 service to Hawkshead and Coniston and the 516 service to Elterwater and Dungeon Guild should change here. If you are leaving the bus here, we would like to remind you to check you have all your personal belongings. We thank you for using Stagecoach today, and we hope to see you again soon. Built alongside watercourses. Stockgill still had the remnants of water wheel housings near its banks. By the late 19th century, the town had expanded as the tourist industry caught up and overtook the mills as a source of income.
We would like to invite the upper deck to please remain seated whilst the vehicle is in motion, and to keep hands, arms, legs and heads within the sides and rear walls of the vehicle at all times. Thank you.
Please ring the bell if you wish to alight here.
To those passengers who have just joined us, we would like to welcome you aboard the Stagecoach 599 service to Windermere and Bowness.
We would like to invite passengers on the upper deck to please remain seated whilst the vehicle is in motion, and to keep hands, arms, legs and heads within the sides and rear walls of the vehicle at all times. Thank you.
The next stop is Waterhead Pier. Please ring the bell if you wish to alight here.
Waterhead is a northern pierhead on Lancashire. There are a number of small shops and cafes in the area, and just around the corner in Forest Park, Lake Cumbria. Passengers wishing to take a free ride.
Lowood. Please ring the bell if you wish to alight here.
If you look out over the lake, you will see, providing it is not raining, a stunning view over Lake Windermere to the Langdale Heights. We believe this is the best view from a bus stop in the UK. The lake itself is England's largest, 10.5 miles long, and just under a mile wide is its widest point. The deepest points are 140 feet in the southern part, 200 feet deep at its deepest point near Lake Castle to the north, but averaging only 15 to 20 feet deep in the middle section. It is a finger lake and was formed nearly 13,000 years ago by the meltwaters from two glaciers at Calbeck and Fairfield. The lake's name translates from the ancient Norse name Winander, an Old English name Mere, meaning Winander's Lake, and over time became Winandermere and then During World War II, the site was a factory owned by the Shaw brothers, in which Sunderland flying bodies were made. The original factory was in Rochester in Kent, but when that became a target for Luftwaffe, production moved north to the shores of Windermere. Around 35 flying bodies were built and launched here, with most out of protection and U-boat control for the Atlantic convoy. The location was deemed ideal as it was sheltered, isolated, and had easy access to the large open stretch of water required for the Western takeoff. The Shaw brothers also built a small village in Kendal to house the workers, and this now forms part of the London Park.
The next stop is Dartbeck Bridge. Please ring the bell if you wish to arrive here.
Kirkstone Pass, Glenridge and Uldwater. Kirkstone Pass, at an altitude of almost 1,500 feet, is the Lake District's highest pass open to motor vehicles. At its summit is the Kirkstone Pass Inn, formerly an important coaching inn, which is now primarily a touring pub. It is the third highest public house in England and has recently installed the Lake District's first large wind turbines for the purpose of supplying coal power in place of its now obsolete diesel generators that use more than 30,000 pounds of diesel each year. Glenridge is a small village that sits at the southern end of Uldwater and in the shadow of Kendal, which is the third highest. It is popular with walkers and with tourists who take the lake stream exclusively at the north end of the lake. Uldwater is the second largest lake in the Lake District behind Lake District. It is 9 miles long, 3/4 of a mile wide, and 5 miles, but relatively shallow and around 200 feet at its deepest. For much of its length, Uldwater forms the boundary between the ancient counties of Cumberland and Westmoreland. It is widely considered to be one of the most beautiful of the English lakes, having been compared to Lake Lucerne and Tristan in 3 regional series. Stagecoach's seasonal 508 service, third Kirkstone Pass, Glenridge, travels the length of Uldwater before continuing to Kendal. Service to Ulverston and Barrow, the number 505 service to Hawkshead and Coniston, the seasonal 508 service to Glenridge, Uldwater and Penryn, which operates daily between Easter and the end of October, and the 555 service to Keswick, Kendal and Lancaster. As we turn into the station, we will pass the Tourist Information Centre. The railway station used to be larger, with 4 covered platforms. 3 platforms were taken out of use when the branch was reduced to a one-train operation in 1973. The single track was put back to a new truncated station in 1986 to allow the modernisation of the station and the building of a new supermarket, which incorporates the structure and the canopy of the original station. If you are leaving the bus here, we would like to remind you to check you have all of your things. We thank you for using Stagecoach today, and we hope to see you again soon. just joined us, we would like to welcome you aboard this Stagecoach 599 service to Bowness. We are now passing through the town of Windermere. The town of Windermere lies approximately 1¼ miles from the lake from which it takes its name. Originally a small, insignificant hamlet called Birthwaite, the arrival of the Kendal and Windermere Railway in 1847 heralded a large expansion of the village. When the railway company named the station Windermere, the town followed suit and changed its name. Whilst not overly popular with locals, even the poet William Wordsworth was against it, writing several letters to London newspapers, the arrival of the railway was a great success. In the first year alone, almost 120,000 people came by train, with the option of being transported to the lake by horse and carriage. Since then, the town has grown and grown on the back of the tourist industry.
We would like to remind passengers on the upper deck to please remain seated whilst the vehicle is in motion, and to keep hands, arms, legs and heads within the sides and rear walls of the vehicle at all times. Thank you.
Bowness-On-Windermere. It was built in 1907 in memory of Mountford John Bird Manley, local author of travel and guidebooks, and whose works are believed to have inspired A.W. Wainwright's more well-known publications. Approaching the town centre of Bowness-On-Windermere. Like Windermere, Bowness expanded massively in the 19th century on the back of the tourist trade, although there was a small fishing village on the shores of the lake dating back to the 14th century. This end of the town is the main shopping area, with the lake a little further on, and is also home to Beatrix Potter World. The western boundary of Bowness is formed by Lake Windermere, and this will shortly come into view. The lake itself is England's largest, and over 10.5 miles long, and just under a mile wide at its widest. However, it is quite shallow. The deepest points are 140 feet in the southern part, 200 feet at its deepest point near Wright Castle to the north, but averaging around 15 to 20 feet in the middle section. It is a finger lake, and was formed around 13,000 years ago by the meltwaters from two glaciers at Troutbeck and Fairfield. The lake's name translates from the ancient Norse name Vinanda and the Old English name Mere, meaning Winander's Lake, and over time became Winandermere and then Windermere. The lake has a number of small wooden islands. These are owned by the National Trust and are accessible by boats, and are very popular for picnicking during fine weather. The largest island is Bell Island, named after Isabella, the wife of John Kerwin, who completed the unusual circular house on the island. However, the island has been inhabited periodically since Roman times. The lake was used by the Romans to move quarried stone, and excavations of the current house revealed remains of Roman occupation. There was also a 13th century manor house built for William de Lindsay, which was abandoned in the 14th century. Until the year 2000, the lake was home to an annual records week, with powerboats vying to set water speed records. However, a more sedate 10-mile-an-hour speed limit was put in place in the year 2000, and records week moved to Bowness-On. Shortly be arriving at Bowness-On-Windermere. Please note that some journeys will terminate here. If the bus turns into the pier concourse, then it is terminating here. If not, it is continuing to Breakaway Cove. The pier is one of 3 main pier heads on the lake, along with Lakeside at the southern end and Waterhead to the north. For anybody wishing to take a cruise on the lake, the ticket office for Windermere Lake Cruises is on the pier concourse. For those leaving us here, we would like to remind you to check you have all your personal belongings. We thank you for using Stagecoach today, and we hope to see